Okay, hi everybody. In this video, I'm going to talk to you about some of the job roles in each of the sectors and the relationships. So we're going to be learning to explain some of the job roles within each sector, explain the relationship between two sectors, and explaining interdependence. So take notes throughout this video, as you will need to explain some of these roles in your two chosen sectors. So let's just have a look at the grading criteria and what we're working towards here. So at pass level, you're looking to cover the functions of two related sectors, giving a basic overview of their relationship and key employment roles. As we move on to the merits and distinctions, you're looking to examine two related sectors, detailing the dependent links between them, and covering how the key roles relate to each other and the impact they can have on each other's success. And at distinction level, you're looking to assess how two related sectors work together, making pertinent links to industry successes and shortcomings, covering different roles in the industry and discussing issues of contract types and interdependence. So in this video, I'm going to be explaining what interdependence is, and then throughout the course of this first half term, we'll be looking at some of the issues relating to interdependence. So, some job roles within live performance. Now, a lot of the job roles, such as artists, DJs, performers, you're not going to need me to explain them to you. You know, their jobs are fairly self-explanatory. But let's have a think about some of the other roles that happen within the live performance sector. So we've got the front of house manager. Now, within a venue, a lot of big venues don't actually have many staff because they're all brought in dependent on the event. However, the front of house manager will be a permanent member of staff at the venue. What they're responsible for is organising all of the staff at that event. So they're responsible for organising bar staff and sending them about where they need to be. They're responsible for making sure that the events run safely. There's enough stewards in each place at each time. For instance, you'll need a lot more stewards at the entrance at the beginning of the night, and you'll need more stewards throughout the venue as the night progresses. So that's their job. They're kind of organising all of the staff that the customers see and come into contact with. So that's the front of house, it's the customer's side. The sound engineer is obviously very, very important. They're responsible for what the audience hears. They're generally situated within the audience as well. So there's often like a little booth towards the back of the crowd or somewhere in the middle of the crowd so that they can hear what the audience is hearing, make adjustments as necessary, adjust the volume throughout the night, increase the bass as more people come in, etc, etc. And the lighting engineers, or lighting jocks as they're called, if you think of like a big dance events and big modern events with huge stage setups, it's the lighting engineer who's in control of all that. They're controlling when you see strobe lights, when you see lasers, when it's just a nice sort of undulating, moving pattern of lights that you see. And visuals and lights are a huge part of particularly dance events and big live performances. So that job is absolutely crucial to the customer's experience. Road crew and riggers. Now, these are slightly different, same sort of role, but the road crew will generally travel with the artist or with the band and be responsible for more of the backline equipment, amps, drum kits, guitars, that sort of a thing. And riggers are often a local team who will come in to set up things that are fairly universal. So like, for instance, speakers. There's kind of 5 or 6 big speaker companies. So you get a local rigger team who has the speaker setup that you want, and it saves carting tons of equipment up and down the country if you're on tour. Same with lights as well. There's kind of 3 or 4 main moving heads that every venue wants and every sort of gig wants. So you get a local crew of riggers to set that up for you. Security, again, very, very important on any sort of live event. There are legal standards as to how many security you need per how many hundreds of people you're going to have in that venue. And stewards as well, crucial in the running of an event, making sure that people don't go into areas that they're not supposed to be in, making sure that people know where they're going as they get into, let's say, concert halls, for instance. Sometimes people need to direct into the seats. So yeah, there's a lot more to live performance than just the performers. So production. Obviously there's the producer, and the producer is the main creative body in the studio. So if you think of Timbaland, a good example here, he often won't be doing the microphone setups or doing a lot of the desk work, a lot of the technical work. But what he will be doing is the creative side of it. He'll be deciding how the vocalist should sing. He'll be deciding when there should be ad-libs, when there shouldn't be ad-libs, that sort of a thing. It's the creative direction will come from the producer. You've got songwriters and lyricists. They're often working behind the scenes. They do the sort of the writing of the song and the writing of the lyrics before it goes to production. Recording engineers and studio engineers. Now these will work with the producer, but they'll have generally a much more sort of a much better technical knowledge than the producer will. So they'll know the best sort of microphones to use for a particular vocalist, the best compressors to use, etc., etc. Then they'll be really skilled and proficient with that equipment. And they will generally sort of do things on the instruction of the producer. Session musicians. These are, again, crucial roles in the studio. You know, if, let's say Timbaland wants a guitar part put in one of his tracks, I don't think he plays guitar, so he's going to probably buy a session musician. And they come at a pretty high rate, to be honest. If any of you are looking to get work in studios and you're a good player, session musicians is definitely a good way to go. Especially if you can read music or you can pick things up really quickly. You know, you can get hundreds and thousands just for one day of work. And studio owners. This slightly crosses into the management, slightly. But the studio owner, they generally get what's called the MCPS, which is the mechanical rights for any production. So anything that's recorded within the studio owner's studio, the studio owner will get royalties for. So a pretty important consideration when you get in studio time. So moving on to the creation sector. Obviously we've got composers, and they can take, you know, a variety of shapes and forms. But they're the ones writing the music. Now it could be on sheet music, you could be writing within Logic, all sorts of different ways. Conductors and orchestras, obviously film music, you know, Hans Zimmer, big film scores, they're a crucial part. And the orchestra are the players, the conductor is the person who stands at the front waving the stick, telling them what to do. And they are essentially, it's a really crucial role, they are like the mixing desk of the orchestra. You know, when they move their hands, certain sections will get louder or quieter, and they kind of control the overall balance of the orchestra. It sometimes looks like they're not doing much, but it is a really, really crucial role. An arranger is somebody who takes written music and arranges that for orchestras or brass bands or wind bands, and they know how to make the orchestra sound good. It's not as simple as writing parts and splitting it out onto different instruments. You know, an arranger has a real skill for what sort of notes and what ranges and what timbres should be used within that piece. Sound design teams, really, really crucial in modern sort of film music and modern TV music. They create like the atmosphere that's happening. You know, if you're in a scene and it's really tense, and there's a lot of like synth noises, background drones, which really create the atmosphere, a sound design team has been working to create that. Similar to Foley artists as well, all of the natural sounds, such as footsteps, clothes movements, the sounds of fight scenes in films, etc. And then these two, publishers and sync agents. Now these, again, slightly cross over into the management section, but I thought I'd put them here in the creation section because they work heavily with composers and people who are creating music. Now a publisher is somebody who will release your music out into the world and make sure that it is copyrighted and that you're going to get some royalties if it's used in films, TV, etc. And a sync agent is somebody who advertises your music. They take it out to people to try and get it used in film and TV. So, you know, sync agents, they will work with a variety of composers And they're kind of like a representative. They will approach TV people, they will approach radio people, film people, and be like, okay, I've got this person's music, would you like to use this? And the management and promotion section. So artist and band managers, really crucial role, and there's going to be more detailed info on some of these roles in future lessons. So we've got a lesson that really looks at the importance of the band manager. But if you picture particularly slightly older sort of rocky 70s and 80s bands, they needed somebody to control them, essentially. And one of the artist managers that's in one of the videos we will show you is Sharon Osbourne. Now, not only did she have to organise Ozzy Osbourne, but she also had to make sure he behaved himself. Recent example, Scooter Braun, he works with Justin Bieber. Again, he has to make sure he behaves himself. He's kind of like a parent and a manager. So there's quite a lot to that role. They get a lot of pressure. They don't get a lot of credit as well. So good role, very lucrative, but not the most glamorous. Tour manager might very well be the same person, but the tour manager is who's going to be on the road with them, making sure everything runs smoothly on tour. So artist and repertoire. This happens mainly with the production sector. These are people who reach out from a record label to find new talent, spot artists that are going to suit their sound. Promoters and promotion companies. These are generally people who organise gigs. So if you think of a local event, the Warehouse Project. The Warehouse Project is essentially a promotion company. So they don't have like resident DJs or anything. They don't even have a venue. The venue just changes. It's in a fairly fixed place now, but it's gone through 3 or 4 different venue changes. So Warehouse Project essentially organise an event, do all the promotion, get the DJs, they book the DJs, and that's their job. Their job is to set up and promote an event. And then you've got your digital marketing teams, or digital in brackets, it might be physical marketing. These are the ones responsible for actually advertising that event, advertising that record release, and making sure that people buy it and buy tickets. And booking agents there as well. Now, sometimes your artist manager will be your booking agent. Other times they are different people. And your booking agent is essentially, they're responsible for being in contact with venues, being in contact with promoters, and they will then book artists. So a promoter, let's say a Warehouse Project, they might have organised an event. They then contact a booking agent who is responsible for, let's say, Carl Cox and Annie Mac. And the booking agent then books the artist. And we'll have fees and everything. And again, some of these roles will go into more detail in future lessons. So, interdependence, what is it? It's the dependence of 2 or more people or things on each other. For instance, many countries are interdependent, so they have established trade deals and markets and therefore depend on each other. So if you think about England or the UK, we don't produce a lot of things, we don't create a lot of things. So foreign markets that do create a lot of things, think of Made in China written on everything, we have an interdependence with them. We depend on them to create the products, and they depend on us to be able to sell that product outside of their country. So there's interdependence there, it's depending on each other. It's also the idea that everything is connected and relies on other things, as we will see now. So within music, so let's say, you've recorded a track, now what? You can DJ, you've learnt how to DJ, now what? You've made a really nice film score, now what? What do? You need some management and promotion. Now my advice within this first assignment is that all 3 of the sectors will work with the management and promotion sector. And I think in the assignment, it's much more natural to explain the links of one of these 3, so performance, creation or production, with the management sector. The artists need management, and the management doesn't exist without artists. That's interdependence. So let's go back to these few at the top. So you've recorded a track, you've done, the production sector's done its thing. It will then need a record label and promoters and distributors to get that album out to the public and make sure it sells. You know, a DJ is nothing without a good booking agent and a good promoter. So, for instance, myself, when I'm not on lockdown, I'm out every Friday and Saturday and some other nights of the week DJing. I don't lift a single finger to get any of them gigs. I have a booking agent, and he basically just texts me, or messages me, or emails me once every month and a half, and just says, okay, here's your gigs for the next month and a half. Let me know if there's any you can't do. And again, really nice film score. You've made it, but then you're going to rely on a sync agent and a publisher to enable you to get that work to a film company who are making a film that soundtrack will be suitable for. So all of these sectors, performance, creation and production, will need some sort of management and promotion. So it's really important to understand how that management and promotion sector is interdependent with the other sectors, how they depend on each other and how they work together.